how are you doing? This is Chiggy and I am the content creator behind Chiggy's World. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I just want to say thank you for taking our time to stop by and to listen to this video. As many of you are aware of, I had my son last year, March, so he is almost 17 months and it is crazy. Like, can I just say how crazy it is that he's already almost 17 months? It just feels like he was born yesterday, but in that 17 months a lot has gone on. He is my first child. He is my first experience at motherhood and at breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is something great, okay? It's the best and natural way that you can easily feed your newborn, feed your child, if you have that opportunity. Prior to having him, I always planned to be that mother who was going to breastfeed for at least a year, okay? I had this, grand plans. I would visualize, my son being here. I would picture the beautiful moments we would have where I would hold him, breastfeed him, play with him, and breastfeeding was definitely a part of that picture that I saw, part of that dream that I had. I was going to be, and I wanted to be that mother who was going to breastfeed at least for a year. Even if I wasn't able to breastfeed exclusively, my goal and my prayer was that I was going to be able to breastfeed partially for at least a year. But the crazy thing about life is that sometimes you can have the best plans, the best intentions possible, but sometimes life just doesn't go as planned. It's important to also share that, okay? It's important for us to share our stories. It's important for us to be honest and transparent about our struggles. And initially, I wasn't going to share this because even though we want to encourage mothers to breastfeed as much as possible because of the wonderful benefits of breastfeeding when it comes to bonding, when it comes to the nutrients and the things that can help build up the baby's immune system. There's so many benefits. I'm not here to say there isn't, but what happened was that with so much information and so much talk about the importance of breastfeeding and how it is the best thing to do for your baby. For the people like myself who wanted to breastfeed, at some point it sometimes comes across as people are going to be judging you if you're not able to breastfeed. I know we all have our different reasons if we're not able to breastfeed, and people sometimes may make assumptions that we don't want to, but for someone like me, I always wanted to breastfeed. I did start breastfeeding, but along the way things changed, and this is my story of what happened. I hope as I share my story that you'll understand the message I am trying to share. I hope my story resonates with somebody, and I hope it just opens your eyes, your mind and your heart more to understand the different perspectives and the different choices that we make when it comes to breastfeeding. My pregnancy was not a smooth pregnancy. First of all, my journey towards conceiving CJ was not easy, and as many of you know, Michael and I had to go through the process of in vitro fertilization to have CJ. And after IVF, pregnancy was very hard. The first trimester was very difficult because of you know, the side effects of the IVF and now being pregnant and with some of the medications I was taking. But of course, by the time I got into my second trimester, it was so much better and so much easier. I actually felt my best during the second trimester. But by the third trimester, I wasn't doing so great, you know. I started gaining a lot of weight. I started having a lot of fluid in my body. And towards the end, I was diagnosed with having preeclampsia. Now, okay, I'm 38 weeks pregnant. We had to check into the hospital so I could get induced. And so, you know, CJ could be born because of the preeclampsia. So again, my whole delivery, that's a whole, you know, story on its own, which I will share later on. But for right now, after CJ was born, while we were still in the hospital, and now we were in the mother and infant, you know, section of the hospital recovering, I definitely was so excited to hold CJ, to, you know, just, you know, having on my skin, on my body, skin to skin contact and bond with him. I was so excited about breastfeeding, and I actually you know, was able to breastfeed, you know, while I was in the hospital. That first day started breastfeeding, even though it probably wasn't much that I was producing at that time. It was such a joy. It was just such a beautiful experience, and I am so glad that even though it was short, that I still had the opportunity to experience that, because sometimes people don't, you know, some women don't experience that. But for me, I was able to breastfeed, you know, start breastfeeding that first day after CJ was born, and even into the second day, and we were just exclusively breastfeeding. I had him close by so I could easily pick him up if I needed to. But something happened, okay, in the hospital, and that was what changed the trajectory of what we did when it came to feeding CJ. I think it was the second day or maybe the third day, and I'm still breastfeeding CJ exclusively, and that was the day that he had to get his circumcision done in the hospital before we can then check out of the hospital and go home as a family. So it was gonna be a busy day for him. He had this circumcision, but also since he was born, they were also monitoring his heart to make sure that the heart murmur that they could still hear was going to to go away before he was discharged, just to make sure again that he's developing as he should. So that day was busy. CJ had first his circumcision, then he had to do an ultrasound of his heart, which is called an echo. And so by the time it was done and I got him, before the nurse left, she said that she noticed that he was shaky. I'm so grateful that she decided to do something to check. And so she went ahead to check CJ's blood sugar, and that's when she told us that his blood sugar was very low. We had to feed him, okay, bottle feed him to supplement the breast milk that he was getting, that apparently it looks like I was not producing enough to fill him up, and because of that his sugars were dropping. So we had to supplement with Similac at the hospital and give him a bottle, the little bottles that you have in the hospital. Give him a bottle wait a few minutes, recheck his sugar, and if it was still low, try to feed him again. So we had to do that until his blood sugar level came up and was back to normal. But breastfeeding specialist, the nutritionist, spoke to us and told us that it appears that I am not, producing enough breast milk for him. And so the plan right now will be for me to supplement with the bottle. Honestly, guys, that was heartbreaking. It was very heartbreaking because to hear that he wasn't getting enough food, enough feeding when I had breastfed the past 24 hours. It broke my heart because I honestly, for a moment, I felt so bad that he was hungry and I wasn't able to produce enough to feed him and so in that moment we realized that him getting fed was so much more important than me wanting to breastfeed exclusively. So we made the decision to supplement with formula. But then once he started getting the supplements, the Similac with this, it's almost like he realized it was so much easier to eat that way that it became so difficult to breastfeed him. Also, he was having difficulties with latching properly. So we then got discharged and went home. And as I mentioned before, I was diagnosed with preeclampsia, which is why we went to the hospital in the first place to get induced. Once I got home, within that first 24 hours, first of all, you're home with a newborn for the first time. You're excited, you're happy, you're trying to make sure you have all that you need where you need it, because now you're going to try to transition and adjust to this new life at home with a human being, okay, that is under your care, a newborn who completely depends on you for everything. Going home was hard because not only were we transitioning, I was having issues with my blood pressure. My blood pressure was not controlled. It appeared to be controlled while I was in the hospital, but once I left and I got home, it was not controlled, and I was having multiple issues physically, mentally, from my blood pressure not being controlled, to the point that I actually ended up in the hospital. I want to say either within 24 to 48 hours of being discharged, I wound up back in the emergency room. That was super hard because I had to leave CJ at home. Thank God my aunt and my cousin were around in that moment, but it was so hard having to leave him and go to the hospital. But I also knew that my life was in jeopardy because my blood pressure was super high. But eventually, once I got taken care of and I was put on better medicines and I came home, I didn't get admitted. I was just in the emergency room for several hours, and eventually I came home. And so coming home, even though I had medicines that seemed to be better, I still struggled with my blood pressure being uncontrolled. I was not able to sleep well. I was in pain, not just pain from the surgery, okay, from the C-section, but pain from when you breastfeed, your uterus starts contracting. That was painful. Or when I hear the baby cry and my boobs, my breasts would get so sore. in reaction to CJ. So there was so much going on. So I was in pain, the normal pains that you have as a new mom, but I was also having pain from the uncontrolled high blood pressure. I would get severe headaches. I would have issues with my vision at times. I would get so fatigued from the medication. It was so much going on physically and then mentally also. I just had a baby, so all these hormones were, you know, in my system still, and then your body, you know, is trying to now adjust to not having the baby. So it was a lot, and I was trying the best that I could to, you know, get up, pump, to breastfeed, because since I still was not producing enough, when it got to a point that he did not want to be breastfed. When he was hungry, he wanted to eat. And since I was not making enough breast milk and he wasn't getting enough while I was breastfeeding, and I was now having to supplement with a bottle, he got to the point that he no longer wanted the breast milk. He just wanted me to give him the bottle. And so that's what I started doing, just so he wouldn't starve. And so, you know, we could better soothe him. We started giving him the bottle, and then I started pumping, so I could then pump and at least get as much as I could to give to him first when he was hungry before I would supplement. But at some point that wasn't working because I still was not producing enough. It even got to a point where he would drink maybe what I had pumped and I could accumulate for him, and he would drink it and it probably felt like it was just appetizer, and he would start crying because he was still hungry. And after a while, when he would taste it and he knew it was breast milk, he would push it away and he just wanted his formula because he was hungry. That was sad. That was heartbreaking because I am trying my best, despite all that's going on, pain-wise, mental-wise, emotional-wise. I was trying my best to pump and feed him, but even at some point that wasn't working for him. That wasn't good enough for him. I felt like, you know, in some ways I was failing as his mom. I was getting so stressed out. I was getting so anxious pumping because I would be in so much pain trying to pump. My uterus hurts, my stomach hurts, my boobs are hurting, my back is hurting. So it was so much that was going on. I was physically in pain, mentally, emotionally, also in a way in pain, trying to breastfeed. Then also on top of it, my blood pressures were still not getting controlled. So we now had to change medications. We now even had to go up the dose on the medication, to the point that I was taking 2 different blood pressure medicines at super high doses just to control my pressure. And then at that point, it became a concern for, at this medication, me taking this medication, is it safe to still breastfeed CJ? We decided that I was going to pause on breastfeeding him to see if my blood pressures would get, you know, more in control. And then if they got better and I came off the medicines, then I would try to, you know, pump more to feed him. So that was one plan that we had. The other plan was, you know, try to pump and pour it out, but once I got off the medication, I could feed him. But should I say, guys, it was hard. It was so hard because it was torture having to pump, having to struggle to pump, first of all, and whatever amount I was able to make, which wasn't even enough, but to now have to dump the breast milk that I just struggled to pump and went through all that pain and torture to produce, to have to now dump it because of the blood pressure medicines I was taking was heartbreaking. So like, even though there were these different plans, it's like I still felt like crap. I honestly just was frustrated. I was exhausted. I was sad that I just like couldn't breastfeed CJ like, you know, easily as other women breastfeed their kids. I was sad and frustrated that I had to deal with this blood pressure issues. So yeah, even though I always wanted to breastfeed and I had the grand plans to breastfeed for at least a year exclusively, reality was different. The reality was that I had preeclampsia, and even after having the baby, I was dealing with uncontrolled high blood pressure. My body was still trying to adjust and heal. I was in so much pain physically from, you know, the normal pains of having a baby. Your uterus is trying to contract to shrink back. But I was still recovering from having a C-section. I was also dealing with the severe headaches and sometimes disabling headaches I would get from my blood pressure being uncontrolled, and also sometimes from the effects of the blood pressure medicines I was taking. So it was so hard, but eventually we decided that the best thing to do for the both of us, CJ and I, was to exclusively feed him with the formula while I try to heal, get my blood pressures under control, get my mental health, you know, work on my mental health to just become, you know, the best mom I can be without being perfect, or being the best mom despite the situation that we were in. I didn't even have the heart to pump, to keep pumping and keep dumping the breast milk. So at some point I stopped pumping because it was too heartbreaking to do that. And even when I'll have my moments and I would want to try to breastfeed to see if he still wanted it, CJ wasn't having it. He was done with the experience. And the point of me sharing my experience with you is that is not to say, hey, don't breastfeed your kid. No. I want to say breastfeeding is important. It is a great way to bond with your baby, to feed, to nourish your child and help build your immune system up. But sometimes life doesn't go as planned. And one thing I have learned is that you have to be willing to adjust, to adapt. If not, that can actually put you in the worst state. So once I was able to adapt and adjust to what the new norm was and what the situation was that I was experiencing, it became easier and I felt better. Even though I would have the moments where I would see something, maybe see a picture of a mother breastfeeding their child, or see a commercial, or see a video, a movie, or or read something, you know, pertaining to breastfeeding, trust me, I would have my moments where I would feel bad, I would feel guilty that I wasn't able to do that, to give that to my child. But you know, again, I would remember that my situation was different. I was experiencing not only life-changing things, but something that could easily have become worse if I didn't take that time to take care of myself. We decided to make a different decision on how to feed CJ and how to take care of myself. And honestly, it was the best decision we made, because I urge you, breastfeeding is not as easy as it may seem to everyone. Some people it may come easy to them, and some people it may not be that easy. There's so many reasons that the breastfeeding may not work instantly and initially, but that doesn't mean it's not going to work in the long run. But you have to take the time to learn. You have to take the time to find support, you know, find resources to help. Having and seeing a lactation specialist is great, because then they can teach you, they can help you. We definitely saw the lactation specialist in the hospital, and even after we went home, we followed up with a lactation specialist, but it was still hard. It was a struggle because CJ was struggling, he was starving, and what we were trying to teach him in terms of trying to latch on better was not working. He was frustrated, I was frustrated, the lactation specialist was trying her best. The more she tried to make him latch on more, the more he fought. And this is him just being a couple of weeks old. He was still fighting so hard to get off the boob and just get his bottle. And so again, at some point we just decided that the anxiety, the frustration, the physical and mental and emotional pain and torture we were both experiencing, that was not worth it, and we decided to just bottle feed with formula exclusively. And once we did that, life became so much easier. CJ was happier, it was easier to soothe him, he was able to eat so much better and sleep better also. And as for me, I was able to, you know, have a little bit more time to take care of myself, to be able to get some sleep, to be able to take care of myself physically, but also mentally and emotionally and spiritually. And once that pressure of breastfeeding was gone, we were even able to just bond in a better way, in an easier way, with just the new things we were doing, and just with the... So even though I was not able to breastfeed for a very long time, I still cherish the moments where I was able to, the initial moments that I was able to breastfeed. I still treasure those moments. It does make me sad at times when I think about it, that I wasn't able to breastfeed longer, but again, I know I did the best that I could. And I know this was a lot of information, but again, I just wanted to share this because even though my story is unique and my experiences are unique based on what I was going through, what we were going through as a family, it's also probably similar to what someone out there may be going through. So I just wanted to share this to say you are not alone. It's not easy being a new mom. At the end of the day, you have to do what is best for yourself and what is best for your child and for your family. Motherhood is not one size fits all. Being a great mom isn't just one way. So you have to figure out what is best under the circumstance, you know, based on the situation that you're going through. Figure out what's best for you and your family, and go ahead and do that. And find a network of people who can support you through the journey. Even though you may know that you're making the best decision, you can still struggle with guilt and with sadness because you're doing things differently. I want to say, from one mother to another, you are doing your best. You are doing a great job. Keep working at it. Keep learning. Keep growing. To all the mothers out there, whether you breastfed or you didn't, whether you bottle fed or you didn't, I just want to tell you, you are doing a great job, and hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for taking our time to listen to me, listen to my story. I hope this resonates with somebody. I have a lot more to share about motherhood, about the ups and downs of being a mom. I have so much experiences, and I am going to take the time and gradually share. But if there's anything specific you want to know about my journey as a mom, or how I pretty much manage it all, go ahead, leave a comment below. But also do not forget to like, to share, or even save this video, okay? I love you guys. I appreciate you. And I hope this video touches somebody and encourages somebody on their journey as a mom. Have a beautiful and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.